Vegetarian food can be such a challenge in Asia. There are so many joints which are advertised vegetarian, and they're usually aimed at Westerners, and they're usually a bit more expensive. It's those vegetarian cafes that sell the same old smoothie bowls, you know the drill. But what I wanted to talk about was places that you could eat on a budget, and I'm talking backpacker budget. I don't want to spend £4, £5, £6 on an avocado toast. What I want to talk about is local food at a budget. For less than £1.50. One thing I just want to talk about and just say before I go into it is, top tip is lunch is actually cheaper than dinner. Lunch is your best friend in Asia if you're on a budget. Lunch places, obviously not only the cheapest, but also sometimes a lot of these restaurants, they're not open in the evening, so you get a wicked deal, huge plate for only something like £1, £1.50, you know, anything that small at lunchtime. Is not always the case at dinner. So top tip is get a big lunch in, you know, eat heavy at lunch, and get a light at dinner if you're on a budget. And what I want to say is a lot of these places are self-service, buffet style, where you fill your plate and pay at the counter after. Usually it's a case of you show the lady, and the lady will count how many different dishes you've got on your plate. Generally all the places that I'm going to list are anything from about up to £1.50, so generally it's still super cheap, and that includes a drink. The other thing I wanted to mention is all these places, unless I mention it, are strictly vegetarian. So don't be put off if you see meat. It's not really meat, it's mock meat. A lot of these places as well are very heavily visited by locals and not so much tourists. The budget is just, you know, the budgets, you know, the prices for these meals are crazy cheap, which is why they're a favourite for locals, and the food is amazing. So don't be put off by the language barrier. Just go with the flow and just embrace it. I've seen so many people walk in confused, absolutely confused and baffled, and walk straight out. We actually saw a gentleman walk in and they were like, you know, what do you want? What do you want to eat? And he was so confused about the situation, standing in the middle of the restaurant, so overwhelmed. He just said vegetables, and they pointed him to the mock meat and some different selections, and he just turned around and said, I don't eat meat, and just walked straight out. They didn't really have a clue what was going on, and you know, but as you could see, confused by it all. Anyway, so I'm going to dive straight in and just tell you my top picks, the different areas of Kuala Lumpur. So there's a real variety here. First one is Blue Boy in Bukit Bintang. Price for Blue Boy is at lunchtime place, anything from up to 15.50 ringgit, which is about £1.50 each. That includes a drink. There's a real selection of different foods you can get there. They have a counter, so just basically turn up, ask for a portion of rice, and then serve yourself up some food. I'll tell you what, their tom kha curry there is incredible, so check that out. There's huge pieces of tofu in it. Don't be put off. Grab a big bit of tofu and stick it on your plate. Still just cheap as chips. It's a breakfast and lunch place only, so just bear that in mind. Next place is in Pudu. It's a bit further down from Bukit Bintang, tucked away. It's a local favourite, as you can tell, in Pudu, and this place is one of the cheapest on the list. This came in at 2 big plates and a drink between the two of us for $14.90, and that was for a tea as well. There's a real mixture of vegetarian dishes in there, and there's a take on all the Chinese classics. So some of the sweet and sour mock meats, and a lot of vegetables. It's amazing at lunch, and this place, unlike some of the other places on the list, is open at dinner, so well worth checking out. Open till 10 o'clock, so get there for it. Next place is an interesting one. It's near the Petronas Towers, so if you're in town and looking for somewhere to eat that's cheap, I know around KLCC it can be quite expensive. It's an expensive mall, so there's a lot of upmarket restaurants, but this place is tucked away behind one of the temples, and this place is called Dharma Realm 1 Yin. If you go there at lunch, you see all the locals on their lunch breaks and eating. It's a huge canteen. Just get in, grab yourself a portion of rice from the bowl onto a plate, and then just serve yourself up. You'll walk through and you'll be offered drinks, there's fruit to take, and you just pay as you go through, and then you sit down and eat your meal. We found that place to be one of the cheapest on the list, so definitely check it out, and then walk around and see the Buddhist temple afterwards. Another one back into Bukit Bintang is TG's. This one isn't strictly vegetarian, let me just say, but it's a favourite for Roti Canai, and a local, which is a locals dish, which is Indian flatbread served up with curries, a couple of bowls of curry, usually a dal. They have it for breakfast, but you can have it, you know, all day, every day. You know, it's an amazing dish. And you can have it with cheese, you can have it with egg, you can have it with garlic, so a real mixture. And that place in particular is a tiny bit more expensive for the plates we had, which was 1950 ringgit, which works out coming up to more around the £2 rate. But if you eat a bit less, you know, you can have it much cheaper. Every time we go, we get carried away with the cheese rotis, which are $5.50, but they're these big rotis, and they're absolutely amazing, the cheese ones. So definitely dig a bit deeper in your pocket for that one. Finally on the list is a place called Water Lily, and this one is near Petaling Street. This one is a bit more expensive than the other ones, but they do a special deal where you can get a mixed plate of food. I tell you what, definitely try the spicy broad bean paste fish, tofu. You get some fried vegetables with it as well, and some rice, and a drink as well. Sometimes a soya milk, sometimes a tea, all in under 15 ringgit. So that's definitely worth checking out. That one's a bit more expensive, that's 15 ringgit per plate. So between the two of you, it'll come to about 30 ringgit, but you get all of those food listed there. Check all those places out. That's a mixture of places across town, so that kind of covers you if you're staying near Bukit Bintang, if you're staying near Petaling Street, if you're staying near the KLCC and Petronas Towers. My advice to you is get stuck in, don't be afraid. I tell you what, a lot of these places are quite scary to the Westerner. You never see a lot of Westerners in these places, but you've just got to dive straight in and go for it.